I'm feeling is, you know how they say you can't pour from an empty cup?
Yes.
So my cup, I'm doing things to refill my cup like this and gratitude exercises, meditation. Problem is my cup has holes in it. So until I can mend the holes in my cup, I can keep pouring in and doing things like this, but I'll never feel not burnt out.
Welcome to the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast, where we share new and different ways to practice gratitude that you might not have thought of before. Our guests come from many different and diverse backgrounds, and the one thing they all have in common is a passion for gratitude. I'm Julie Boyer, a gratitude and gut health expert, and I love showing you different ways to practice gratitude that you might not have thought of before. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. Today, I'm doing a solo episode because there's something really interesting that I wanted to chat with you about. Some of you might have come here from TikTok, and that's because I had my very first viral TikTok. I had no idea when I shared this video on TikTok how many people would be able to connect with what I was sharing about my cup being full of holes. What I'm going to share with you in this podcast is first the story behind the TikTok and why I was in the water filming. Second, I'm going to share some of the comments that were posted on the video and then my responses to these comments. And let me tell you, I'm searching for answers just as much as so many of you are. And the third thing, for those that want to stick around, is I'm going to talk about what it takes to get a viral video on TikTok. And I promise you, it's not what you think it is. So let's start with the story behind the video. I've been doing cold ocean dipping since last September. I had set a goal for myself to go in the water once a week to experience cold immersion and the many health benefits that it has. Some of the benefits that I found is that it helps my mental health. It also really helps when I have a lot of chronic pain, and it really helps me to be present in my body. So the other day, I decided to go to my favorite beach, and a number of my girlfriends and fellow dippers were there as well. Now, if you're wondering why I take my phone in the water, I've been doing TikTok videos from the water while I'm dipping for months now, so I wasn't worried about having my phone with me. And yes, I wear a toque, as we call it here in Canada, to keep my head warm because the water and the air is still quite cold. So that allows me to stay in the water a little bit longer than if I had my head uncovered. I'm not quite ready to put my head under the frigid water. It's interesting. One of my friends asked us to share something we were grateful for while we were in the water. And this is an exercise that I had not done before with my friends. And I was so honored that she would choose to talk about gratitude in front of me. Everyone shared their gratitude and I filmed it. And then I mentioned something about working on a plan to heal from burnout. And I had been thinking about this idea of my cup being filled, but yet having holes for some time. And so this was one of the first times that I said it out loud to anybody. What you see in the TikTok video is the first time I said it out loud to anybody. I'm not saying it's a new or novel idea. I'm sure I must have heard it from someone at some time. Over the past few weeks, this has felt really like the way to describe what I'm going through. So I shared it with them. I said, what I'm finding right now is that we know that we cannot give from an empty cup. And I keep doing activities like this: cold immersion, my gratitude practices, eating foods that nourish my body, taking my supplements, doing my best to get enough sleep, but it never seems to be enough. And that's because my cup has holes in it. So we can keep pouring in, but it's coming out the other side. It resonated with my friends that were dipping with me. So I decided to take that short clip and make it into my TikTok video. And I'll tell you, I had no idea of the impact it would have on so many people around the world. It makes my heart sad to know that so many people are struggling as well with so many different circumstances. And on the other hand, I'm glad that we all have come together, and I hope to be able to be of service to the TikTok community and those that connect on our podcast, as well as together we try our best to figure out ways to mend the holes. In the second part of the podcast, I'm going to answer or respond to some of the comments that have been shared on the video. At the time of this recording, it's at about 511,000 views with almost 1,000 comments. So you can understand that I've not been able to answer everyone's comments right away. Okay, let's start with a comment from Chris_C_Ma_Sue, who said, I'm working on the same plan. It's beyond needed. If I don't mend these holes, I don't know what or who I'll be, or even if I'll live through the next 5 years. Chris, I definitely see you and I feel you. And that's kind of how I was feeling, is that if I don't figure out a way to stop, to take some significant time off, to rest, to recover, there won't be a business here in a few months. Not only will there not be a business, where will I be with my own mental health? Today I had a session with my chiropractor, who I also call my healer, and we talked about the last time I took any significant time off. So there are 2 times in the past 7 or 8 years that I can think of when I took significant time off, and both of those included a visit to the hospital for me. In 2014, I experienced a second miscarriage, and I ended up in the hospital with invasive group A strep due to a complication from a procedure called a D&C. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital, and a week of that I was in a medically induced coma. I came home, took the next 2 weeks off, and then went right back to work, pretty much as if nothing had ever happened. And the only other time where I've taken any significant time off was this past summer, where I had surgery to have a full hysterectomy. And I gave myself 2 weeks off to recover, because as an entrepreneur and doing work that isn't necessarily quote unquote physical, I thought that it would be okay for me to get right back into work only a couple of weeks after having major abdominal surgery. So, Chris, I'm working on this, and I'm working on a plan right now to take some significant time off this summer. So stay tuned, podcast family. There will definitely be a break in the podcast as I take this time to recover and begin to mend my holes. Ollie Winning says, this is like a light bulb moment. I rest and do things, but don't ever stop feeling burnt out, exhausted to my bones. Ollie, one of the reasons and ways that I thought and realized that I was actually going through burnout was this feeling of resting, but not feeling refreshed. In the past, when I felt really tired, I found things that can help refresh and rejuvenate me, and it usually works. And lately, especially in the last several months, nothing has really worked. There are times when I just feel totally exhausted to my bones. And that is because most of us have not been able to take a break. And I'm not just talking about living through a global pandemic. I don't know about you, but for me, I've been feeling like this for quite a long time, and I've just never given myself permission to properly rest. Keeping Up with the Calmus says, yes, I've been feeling like there's something wrong with me because people keep asking me why my self-care isn't refreshing me. That is so powerful, because we have been told that all we need is some more self-care and everything will be fine. And I was starting to feel this a number of years ago as well. So one of the reasons this podcast exists is because I started a project back in September of 2019 called the Self-Love Project. And I was interviewing my friends all about the different ways that they would express self-love more than just self-care, because I was feeling depleted. I was having body image challenges, and I just wasn't feeling the same joy for life that I had before. And those interviews really energized me and gave me so many great ideas on better ways that I could take care of myself and learned to love myself. So that is actually where the podcast began. Now, here we are almost 3 years later, and I feel like that too. A lot of the practices that I was doing in the past don't have the same benefit as they used to. And that being said, I do feel like my cup has holes and that I'm having a hard time filling it back up. And at the same time, I have adopted many new practices that have helped me keep at least pouring somewhat into my own cup. So I am not feeling my best. I am definitely in this burnout state. And at the same time, I have found different practices that have helped me to be able to keep going until I can find the time to take a significant break. And I want to be clear that this significant break is not going to involve me being in the hospital first. I am planning and working on how I can take this time away. It is so hard for us as entrepreneurs to let things go. And I am a doer. I am a driver. I just want to get shit done. And it's not serving me anymore. It's just not serving me anymore. And so I am working on a plan. I am easing my way into being able to take several months off this summer. A number of people mentioned that, they are not able to take time off because of work and other things. And I understand that it's very difficult. And in our family, we are a 2-income family. My income is important for our family to be able to put food on the table. And in the same breath, if I am not able to continue to function, especially as a creative person, then all that's going to happen is that my income is going to keep going down and down and down. Reduce, Reuse, Redacted said, the worst part is that a lot of the repairs many people need are systemic changes in infrastructure, better healthcare, cleaner environments, so many other things. And they're right. Unfortunately, for many, there is no option to rest. And many of those people may end up in the hospital with their bodies telling them that they must rest. It's frightening to me that so many holes that we have in our cup are cultural, systemic, related just to the way that our, capitalism is and all these other ways that makes it hard for us to individually mend our own cups, because there are structural changes in the way that our society works that is the only way we're ever going to mend our cups completely. So, as I'm talking through this, as I'm sharing with you, I want to just say that I don't know that I'm going to mend all the holes. I believe that our cup will always have some holes in it. And it's figuring out what is that I need to fill my cup to allow there to be enough in the cup in the first place, and also to do enough mending so that it's not gushing out the other side. Many of the comments on the post said that they felt their cup was not a cup, but it was a colander or a strainer, or that their cup had completely dissolved. And that's hard. That's really hard. Listen, friends, we have been through a really hard time, and we are still going through it. It's not over. The amount of trauma that we've experienced and the amount of healing that is maybe just starting for many people, it's like a tidal wave. And so what I'll leave you with this section is to remember to give yourself grace. I am certainly learning to do that. And that not every solution requires action. In fact, sometimes the best solution is doing nothing. And you may not be able to take a month off or even a week off, but maybe you can find an hour and start there with just being, finding a way to be present and just being in that moment and allowing. And maybe doing this over time helps you to identify what some of those holes are, and then gives you the strength to be able to connect with someone that can help you to work through those holes. I understand that I have the privilege to have the time and the financial means to work with therapists and a chiropractor who I call my healer and other professionals. I know that's not the case for everyone, so I hope that at least one thing that we can all do as we are starting on this journey to mend our holes is a few minutes of just being. I like to remember that we are human beings and not human doings. I've definitely been caught up in being a human doing for far too long. And so remembering that I am a human being and just being with myself and my thoughts and how my body feels and learning to respond to that, I have a lot to learn. But if I can learn at 46, I know that you can too. So we're in this together. And if we're not already connected through TikTok, I'll make sure I drop my handle in the show notes. I'll make sure I link back to the original viral video. My handle on TikTok is at JulieCMBoyer, which is my last name. It's spelled Boyer. That's my handle on all social media. So that's where we will find each other. And that's probably where I'm going to be concentrating a lot of my, I guess, wisdom that I will be sharing as I work on mending my cup, and also sharing things that I do that fill my cup. Finding things that fill your cup that feel really good, that don't feel like something on your to-do list or checking it off or an obligation, I think at the same time is just as critical. So the last part of the podcast was I wanted to talk about going viral on TikTok. Now, this is my personal story. And what I will preface this with is that whether you go viral or not usually has very little to do with you. There's a lot of things that have to happen for a post to get to this kind of momentum. And I think in this case, it was just something that was in my heart that needed to be shared and that just resonated at the right moment. So I've been posting on TikTok regularly now for a year. I started last May, and I was posting once a day, and I got into a phase in about January where I was posting 3 times a day because I was told that it was important to, put more content out there, even if it's shorter, just really be posting. And guess what? That made my burnout even worse. I got to the point where I just didn't want to create any content anymore at all. And that's really where I hit sort of my bottom for this, where I was like, I have to start making changes because I cannot continue to live like this. I remember telling my husband, I was like, I am creating 20 to 30 pieces of content a day. I can't keep doing this. I'm physically unable to keep doing this. So I knew that I needed to take a step back from TikTok. I stopped posting every day. And then I just started to post whenever I felt like it, which was almost every day, but not sticking myself in a box where I have to post every single day. What's interesting is when I took this clip, a lot of what I've learned after having posted now for a year and seeing how TikTok works, I knew that a shorter clip would be more powerful. And I also felt like those words really resonated with just the 5 other women that I was with. And I had this feeling that others might be able to connect with it. And kind of as soon as I posted it, one of my friends, one of my, original TikTok community posted a comment and asked to use this sound. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I've never had a post where anyone's ever asked to use the sound. So then you have to download and repost it so that I guess the sound's available. Although it turns out you can use the sound from the original video, and I didn't know that. So my video is technically up there twice. And now the crazy thing is the second uploaded video is also getting a lot of traction. Totally crazy. So a couple of things. I've never had a video do this ever in a year. Some of my videos got more views over time, but this is the first time that I've had a video with this much momentum. If you look back at my account, although now it's changing because people are looking at more of my videos as I get to grow my community, which is such a privilege and, so amazing to be connected with so many people that, I feel that we are on the same path. But the majority of my videos before this were getting 200 to 300 views, which is great, but I felt like it wasn't growing. I felt like nothing was happening, and why was I still doing this? And then, right? And here's the thing is you can never know when that and then moment is, and it might never happen for you. That's the truth. We use these platforms. They don't cost us anything to use, but they cost us in time and creative energy and all of these things. We are building content for these platforms, and at times it can burn us out, especially when we are waiting for something to happen. One of the advantages of having been on this platform for a year before I had a viral video is that I feel comfortable and confident and okay with what to do now. And I've been able to keep myself from being overwhelmed. One of the first things I did when the video started to really take off is I posted and pinned a comment to say, out of respect for my own self-care and boundaries, I'm logging off for the night. I may not get back to your comments, and, I'll get back to them when I can. And I pinned that to the top of the comments in the videos because I did not want any kind of expectation that I would be able to get back to all the comments. I won't be able to get back to all the comments. I've realized that now. It has gone so much bigger than I had ever imagined. And the quality of the comments is just blowing my mind. The other thing that I was prepared for is that I'd been warned that there would be some negativity in the comments because once a video gets on the For You page and goes kind of crazy like this, a lot more people see it. Thankfully, the kind of negative comments I've had aren't really that negative. And that's really interesting. The reason I talk about wearing my toque at the beginning of this video is because a lot of comments were like, why are you wearing a beanie? Americans call it a beanie. Canadians call it a toque when you're in the water. When I posted this video, my community of, the 1,000 or so friends that I have on TikTok, they knew that I do cold immersion dipping. So not unusual for them to see me in the water with a toque on. But a lot of comments were like, I can't understand why you're in the water with your toque on. And I just took all these comments with a grain of salt, or I made a funny joke. I actually made an answer video to show all the times I'm dipping with my toque on. So I have been okay to not take any of that personally. And I also knew that something that was important to do to let people know who I am. So I made a little intro video that I posted the next day just to say, hi, this is me, who I am. And then I posted one more video, which I think is important, which said, I've just had a video on burnout go viral. And I am not going to make my burnout worse by having expectations or needing to fulfill any demands from the community or whatever it may be. I will post when I am able to post, and when I can't post, I won't post. And know that, in a short period of time, once I get things organized, I will be taking a social media break. I will not be here. So I am allowing, instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, if I don't do something with this now, it's all going to disappear. I am having faith and allowing the fact that I am building this community together, and I'm building a community of people that will respect the fact that I'm going to take the time off. And more importantly, I want to inspire others to take a break. And so that's what it means to have a viral video. And that's how I went viral. And that's how I'm handling it. And it's my own story, my own journey. And I hope that if you are a creator and you have the opportunity to have a video go viral, that you can also handle it in a way that you're not sacrificing your boundaries or your self-care in order to meet the demands of the community. As I wrap up this episode, I wanted to let you know that I have been reading your comments. I am listening to what you're saying, and I'm going to do my best to share things that I've found that are working for me and what's going on in my journey to support you. And my podcasting family, as we work towards this break, I promise you that it is a break, and not yet. Don't worry. There's, probably about 4 or 5 more episodes before the break. So please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you can get those. But there's almost 100 episodes of the podcast, and my guess is you probably haven't listened to them all. If you have, please tell me. If you've listened to all my podcast episodes, I definitely want to talk to you. I mean, I would love to talk to you. But realistically, some of you are here for the very first time. And so I invite you to listen to the other episodes of the podcast. There's so much beautiful content here from so many wonderful people who have given their time to be interviewed on the podcast. And I know that will keep you going for when I do choose to go on the hiatus. You are worth it, my friend. Your mental health is worth it. And let's work together to mend those holes in our cups. Thanks for sticking around till the end of the podcast. I appreciate you. If you're not already following us on your favorite app, make sure you click on the check or follow podcast so you'll be alerted every time there's a new podcast episode. If you enjoyed the episode and want to help us grow, here's some easy things that you can do. You can leave a review on your favorite app. You can share this podcast with a friend and send it directly. And you can also share through social media. Feel free to tag me on any posts in your stories and I'll repost. Thank you to Paul Tedeschini for doing the post-production audio for the podcast. And one last thing, I hope you're choosing to wake up with gratitude every single day.